Hello legends, how we doing? I hope this finds you absolutely wonderful on this sometimes quite challenging and difficult journey through life. It is, isn't it? You know, we all go through it. We all go through the mill, folks. That's when you've got to remember to believe in yourself, believe in the universe, and keep taking action. Leave the past behind, because heal that, let it go. Be grateful and take action. And on the subject of taking action, many of you took action over yesterday's live stream in which I covered the shooting event at Bondi Beach in Australia. And it's immediately apparent many of you are quite switched on, aren't you? You've learned that what you see in the mainstream media, you know, that's not the one that you put your chips on. And I just want to say, like, here is a channel. We're not here to upset people, folks. And overwhelmingly, the response to yesterday's video was just beyond what I could have expected. So thank you so much. But also for new people coming to the channel, it's like this. We love all people on this channel. We walk the spiritual journey. However, when you look at events such as this, you start to draw ties in with all of them. When you've looked at enough of them, these anomalies that don't add up, that only seem to serve a certain network, organization, some would say a small state. And if a former Marine like myself wasn't to question that, how could I look myself in the mirror? How could I look at my children and say, your dad's a good guy, as opposed to, you know what, your dad's a bit of a prick, a bit of a gutless coward, and I haven't yet learned even from the 9/11 stuff, and then there was like the big wars, and then the medical, like, I still haven't learned anything, and I'm a non-playing character that just goes through life, letting the invisible walls of the prison just get ever closer. So if you're watching now, I think you're like me. I think these kids deserve a bit of a better response than just listening to the mainstream media narrative and going, yeah, that's got to be it, hasn't it? You know, we've got these things called brains. We got to, you know, shift from the program left brain, get into the right brain, and then start to see the wood for the trees. Now, here's a thing. Let me just show you this one. Lots of you pointed out lots of anomalies. Right, I warn you now, this is sensitive content. Let me just get it queued up. So, if you're sensitive, folks, look away now. I'm not going to show you anything graphic because in this video, it's been blotted out. But the question I'm asking is, to the left here, one of the perpetrators has just, I'm going to say, taken somebody out. And as he takes it out, this guy here just casually walks into the shot, as does his mate, and they just stand there right in front of a so-called Islamic you-know-what with a fully loaded automatic weapon.
Oh my God, get down.
Look, there's his mate. Both wearing black baseball caps.
Boys, get down. Oh my God.
And then they just stand there. And the one on the left appears to be pointing. Sorry, my phone's going crazy here. I think it's Kenny. So you can understand why people want to ask questions, folks. I'm not going to get too much into this one, but I wrote down a list of all the things you see at these events which just come out from the media as standard, and I think they're going to surprise you. So let's get into it. Hello team. So first off, could you like and subscribe? That would be absolutely brilliant. And if you're a member of the channel, just please check that you're liked and subscribed. That would be awesome. So where are we? Dun, 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 dun. Just bear with me a second. I set about writing a list that any common sense person, whether you believe this narrative or not, whether you're a conspiracy theorist or you're a right-wing, left-wing, Rastafarian love child, whatever label you've chosen to adopt, you cannot disagree that this is the playback. It's always a problem, a massive public reaction, and then there's a solution offered. This is called Hegelian dialect. I think we all learned this from David Icke. And this is, I've just thrown this together, folks. So don't point out me dotted crosses, T's and I's and what have you. But look, target innocent people going about irregular activity. Like say going to office blocks in New York. Employ a Manchurian candidate. That's a programmed individual. That's someone who it just doesn't make sense. These people that you're seeing, something is weird about it. Or a scapegoat, vulnerable patsy, like I think we're seeing in America with the Charlie Kirk thing at the moment. Conduct a military-grade operation, an atrocity so great it enrages and emotionalizes the public beyond rational thinking. Employ a mix of reality and fakery, agents, actors, public services, and the public. Run a public services drill or some sort of training simultaneously, or that might be even prior to the event, to confuse the media narrative. Fail to investigate the discrepancies or the evidence. Immediately allow access to and then destroy the crime scene. Remember in New York, they shipped the steel away and the rubble the very next day to China. In Charlie Kirk, after the Charlie Kirk shooting, they completely re-landscaped the area where Charlie was shot. Find supporting evidence and a Quran in the car. Find a link to an extremist organization or a trip to Pakistan. Make patsy or visible perpetrator fit the profile. Issue scary eyes photo by issuing a scary eyes photo ID and some background supporting evidence. Bring up historical events and fake outrage. The historical event is where they always stir up the Second World War narrative. There's always a relation that was in one of the labor camps. Wait for a statement from a certain stolen state. Scream I'm calling this anti-Sensism because it doesn't make sense. Scream anti-Sensism and push to make it a crime, which indeed it is in certain countries, hey? send more funding to stolen state to protect them from fabled enemy that they created and control. Denounce any rational thinkers as conspiracy theorists. Frame the innocent people from a certain religion who've already been put in the victimized in this, then come out through their left brain programming to defend the narrative. We just state what's going on here, folks. Remember what he said. We love all people. We're not racist. Anything that's just your silly programming nonsense that you see. You see a symbol or a title of a video, and in your mind it triggers your program, and you go straight into what the media has told you, that anyone that questions anything must be anti this or anti that. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying here is you've got a cabal, a dark cabal, clearly networking with their black cubes and their silly nonsense, and owning the most powerful portfolios on the planet, owning the whole of the sound like I've got a stutter. Owning the whole of the medical industry. That should be a frightener for everybody. And what they're doing is they're using and abusing every day people of the faith, of that faith. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to avoid some key words here, folks. You got to do a little bit of the groundwork here. They're using and abuse, and they're getting the backlash because of the victimhood instilled by the programming of these individuals to then support the narrative rather than go, do you know what, guys? This doesn't serve us in any way to keep supporting that psychopath in the small state. He does not care about him. He's working for his masters. It's quite clever, isn't it? In addition, there will be a cry for the ever tightening of gun laws. There will be a call for digital ID and more surveillance. And there will be further curtailment of public freedoms. Whatever you believe on this, you can see you cannot deny that is always, almost in every single scenario that we see where something goes bang or boom, that is thrust on us. Oh, I should have added, there'll be a benefit concert with all the usual suspects in the celebrity industry. He'll come out and sing and dance. Remind me to add that. Now, what's going on here, in a nutshell, is programming, folks. So if you're one of these people now, you're getting a bit triggered, like, how dare this gentleman question an official narrative from policemen and judges and newspapers and the CNN. Well, this some would suggest you're in this category. You have blind belief in the matrix. You don't possess something called gnosis, which is knowing, because you're living in left brain programming. You're obedient. You obey. If the television tells you to wear something on your face and inject toxic stuff into certain, I don't know, whoever, whatever, like, I don't know, maybe like the people that you love dearly, you just go and do it because in your mind it's totally the truth to you, and you'll buy stuff. Then of course you've got your awake people, but a lot of the awake people are the ones coming out in the narrative not so helpful. That guy had an earring in that shot, and in that shot he's clearly wearing a necklace. It's like, no, that's just a camera angle, or it's pixelation on the shot. You get my point. It's jumping on every single thing, which then and it's people are just doing their best, folks. I know that. And I do that to a certain extent. You know, you jump on something, it seems so real at the time. But what I'm saying is, you know, this is the awake behavior in us. What we're looking for is the gnosis, the knowing. Exit the matrix, understand what is going on. They are programming your mind. They want good little left brain following, obedience. That's it. I don't call people sheep, folks. Do you know why? Because I used to be that person. I used to be a service person. So I had to say, yes, sir, and do stuff even when quite a lot of the time I didn't even agree with it. I honestly thought a hippie was like a bad person. Or if you wanted to ban the bomb, you were an idiot. Okay? And that's fine. I was a young man. I came from an incredibly damaged background. I was out there trying to prove myself. I was massively in my ego. So how does this relate, the list that I just made, to what's going on? Let's just, in no particular order. So here's our chap. Doesn't make sense when you see this photo and you see previous photos of him, but you know, also that apparently there's weapons bans in Australia. So how this guy's been supplied, I don't know. If you're, I wouldn't have thought you would be allowed a pump action shotgun. I might be wrong. I don't think you'd be allowed a fully automatic assault rifle. But you know, that's not the point of the video. Here we go. Look, the hunting rifle thing. This is the gun law coming in. You know, is it really a hunting rifle? It's a rifle, isn't it? It's a rifle. But if you attach the word hunting, then you can go further after the people that have legalized weapons out there. Pledged allegiance to an I'm not going to say that word, S group. Here we go. What is it? Is it the Quran or is it going to be the flag? Oh, it's the... it's a double whammy here. We've got the I forgot what I said. The anti-sensible slur chucked in immediately, right? Remember, this is coming from cabal, folks. We're not blaming individuals here. And they recovered a black and white flag. Because I don't know about you, if I was going to go and commit something like this, I'd you know, and maybe I'd have to do a runner and try and escape because, you know, I wouldn't necessarily want to die. I'd certainly leave all the evidence in my car, ridiculous evidence that meant if I ever got stopped in a police stop, immediately that whole mission would be scuppered and I'd be down the station asking a few questions. So, yes, you can see it started. You can see the emotional manipulation for the NPCs is in play. I'm just going to move swiftly on, folks, because I picked up quite a lot of stuff. So there's me. I wrote that list. And guess what? I come across this video. It's a guy called Jamie McIntyre. I'm not too familiar with this gentleman. Australian National Review Chief, editor and political commentator, A&R News, and chairman of the Global Economic Forum. This is not the World Economic Forum. See what this guy has to say.
24-hour news headlines. Unfortunately, you've heard the news, many of you have now, that the massacre in Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, shocks a lot of people. It's designed to shock a lot of people. But as usual, fake news media will tell you a certain narrative and start blaming people who it is. My condolences, first of all, to all the family members that lost loved ones, and that's why it's so important that independent media and citizen journalism exists to find out the real answers behind this to help stop attacks like this in the future. Now, most likely, without us knowing all the facts yet, Australian National Review will launch an investigation. But even before we have done much investigating, we're willing to put $1 million, Australian dollars, right here, right now, that we know who exactly is behind it. It's a fake state that's behind most terrorist attacks on the planet.
Okay, folks, listen. I'll stop that there. you've got the guy's name. You can go and find that link. I think this was on X, but you can. I'm not going to go on because he's using a lot of trigger words that's just going to get us in trouble. But he literally goes on to say everything that I said, that the innocent people of a certain faith will be used again to stir up their emotion. Remember their programming. It all comes from Hollywood. We've all, been subjected to it. And I just wanted you to know that lots of people see through this now, and it's good credit to you. Let's just take a look at the video now. I'm not here to play videos, folks. There's always someone that doesn't get that, isn't there? I'm here to show you a video and analyze it, which means I have to speak. If you want to see these videos, they're all over the internet. This isn't the channel for you. This is just me. I'm quickly going to go through it. I might not necessarily play it all. But here's the alleged perpetrators. The father in the white trousers and his son. His son who loves scuba diving. Has no violent history whatsoever. And his dad who owns I think it's a fruit and veg shop. So absolute candidates for being radical extremists. As always, the narrative is bizarre. The whole setup looks military style, even though the father looks a bit, I'm just going to say, useless. The son looks right on the ball with it. So there they are. First, I'm not going to pick too much out, folks. Like I say, you can watch this later. You can see people now who are cowering behind this on these steps, running away. That's where I think the father makes his run and he goes and gets his weapon taken off him. Then he comes back for the weapon that's lying there. Don't watch this, folks, if you're of a sensitive nature. I'm not going to show anything graphic on here. That's not what we're about. I just want to show really the fiasco that this turns into. So round about here, the father comes back. You just play a bit. That's someone who knows how to shoot. Look at his stance. Take it from someone who's a trained professional. This guy, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying that he knows how to shoot, which anyone who's a hunter would also know. I personally think that somebody's got around these guys, if you get what I'm saying. I think all of these chaps always seem to fit a certain pattern, and that pattern reeks to me that somebody's been getting at them. Now I think the father comes back. There he is. You see him running up the stairs. He may or may not have been clipped by the fellow Muslim chap who took his weapon off him. So he's lost his weapon. He's basically running back with his tail between his legs. But his son has grabbed the other rifle now, the shotgun, and he's passing him the shotgun. This continues. There's all sorts of players in the background. You can see one guy there just standing there. Awful lot of people in this just standing around. I'm not going to highlight all of them because I did quite a lot of that yesterday. At this point, somebody with a pistol comes up behind them. I'll just play this. He stands by this tree. He doesn't get into any sort of cover as you would if you were a trained professional. So it might just be, let's just say, a police officer who's not highly trained in arms. He's maybe got a sidearm, but hasn't really been trained, to a high degree. He just leans on the tree, which is not a fire position, obviously. And there he... Okay, that's the chap trying to fire back. By this time, the father has been clipped again. Who by, I don't know. And the subsequent, what happens to him subsequently probably didn't, you know, because he didn't survive. I think what happens subsequently probably really took him out the game. So, there's the son there still battling it out. And then finally, I'm just going to say that they're both disabled now, let's say. And then all this weird stuff happens. You can see this guy down here already coming on the scene, just turns out to be massively problematic. He's been lingering there the whole time. He's like an annoying uncle. Let's just call him an annoying Uncle Ernie. Friends, incidentally, can we get some likes and subscribes? That would be awesome. If you can like and subscribe, that would be brilliant. And then just becomes a bit of a Fred Carno's army. This guy's on the scene. I think he's trying to signal to police that they're down. This guy here, let's have a look. I'm not sure if that's the same guy or maybe I'm getting too confused. Let me see again. Yeah, he's a guy of a white. He's got something white. He's got black shorts, black top, and something white around it. So, some complete random. He's either a mentalist or there's something we don't know going on here. He's up the top of the steps there, look, with his hands up. And it literally would be the last place you'd want. It'd be different if he went up there to disarm the guys, throw the weapons over the bridge, and then run away. Yeah, fine. But he's just up there to confuse things, folks. And just like we saw with the Charlie Kirk, where you had certain individuals really confusing the situation. He's doing the same. Someone's still shooting because he's got a black shirt just like the guys. So the police probably still think that the perpetrator is up and running. So I think here, folks, I'm not hinting at conspiracy here. I'm just thinking that this is police officers just a bit out of their depth. Probably frightened, scared, never ever thought they'd have to draw their pistol in their whole career. Certainly can't remember the training that they've done in this incident. There's a civilian there that she hasn't even said get on the floor. She's got no idea, who the individual is. And so it continues. At this point, everyone's just being allowed up on the bridge. Police are making no attempt to, or there's no police there, rather, to cordon the area off. Everyone's trashing the crime scene. Okay, emotions are high. It's understandable. I'm just saying. There's people forcibly, look. And this guy, just listen to what he says. As they run up, he says, "I'm Jewish." Like, what? Why would you say that? Look, now there's people actually fighting up there. I think people think that he's one of the perpetrators. Look, no one's getting on the ground. So now he's on the ground. The police have got the guy on the ground, and then look what happened. They just let him get up and walk away. Look, the guy there, see the guy that was creeping up the whole time? I said, right from the word go, he was over this side of the picture. He's now been left to get up and he's just casually walking out. A guy with a black spot on the back of his shirt. Meantime, people are there trying to stomp on the perpetrator's head, or the alleged perpetrator's heads. One guy actually manages that. Yeah, this guy here, he's already been up, stomped on the father's head. Then he's come back down here, removed his t-shirt, and he's just hanging around. Now they got more. These two police officers who previously had just walked down here, they've come back and they're securing the area, which is what should have been a priority. Look, Buster Cockerell here, he just can't wait to get back and get stuck in again. I think he's been on the VB, the Victoria Bitter. Anyway, bit of a fiasco. I just wonder if I can get back to that bit. Like this bit here where he shouts, have a listen, he shouts, "I'm Jewish." I don't know. He looks more Muslim there. I was listening on my phone. Maybe I got that wrong. Apologies. Yeah. So there we go. But anyway, my point wasn't really just to cover that. My point was to cover the points I covered before. All the hallmarks. Here's your have a go hero that the public love. We looked at this yesterday. Here's the prior training, because they're always having build-ups around this thing. This was October. So a month and 2 weeks before, there's the black helicopters in town, in the Greater Sydney area, to respond to threats, we can say. Not quite a drill on the day, folks. I know I'm not trying to grasp at straws here. I just thought I'd show that. And there's the guy. We covered this yesterday. He doesn't, this is the guy in everyday life, a chap who loves like surfing and scuba diving and just looks like a good old guy. And then when the ID comes out, he suddenly looks really, really scary. It looks like that's somebody's drawn that as a picture, hey? Massive push for a certain place at the moment, isn't there? Because of the atrocity that's taken place. It's trying to do a massive public PR job while simultaneously, destroying a people. Very bizarre, this narrative. Obviously, someone was getting a bit close to the truth. Well, was bang on the truth, wasn't he, really? Just goes to show how long and how deep the gameplay of being an agent goes, folks. And when I say an agent, I think you know which organisation I'm referencing. Got to mention the old Hollowalla. Got to relate it back to the Hollowalla. Always got to be more programming. And what did I say? What did I note? I said, wait for the small state to come out and make a statement.
Sent Prime Minister Albanese of Australia a letter in which I gave him warning that the Australian government's policy was promoting and encouraging antisemitism in Australia. I wrote, your call for a Palestinian state pours fuel on the anti-Semitic fire. It rewards Hamas terrorism.
Who founded those people and who funds them, Bibi? Why don't you be honest with us? Well, you're never going to do that, are you?
It emboldens those who menace Australian Jews and encourages the Jew hatred.
Okay, you know what's coming, folks. Basically, the whole setup narrative. First, Australia recognising Palestine. Then it's all coming out, the old anti-Semitism stuff. That's just gaslighting. And then there's going to be calls for measures to be put in place. Those measures are a curtailment of your freedom and mine, friends. That's essentially what is going on here. A small place is basically the fiefdom of the European banking aristocracy. They created it. They use it with which to front their new world order. And once you see that, can't unsee it, can you? Let's go back, watch a little bit more.
And the result is the horrific attacks on Jews we saw today. We saw an action of a brave man, turns out a Muslim brave man, and I salute him, that stopped one of these terrorists from killing innocent Jews. But it requires the action of your government, which you're not taking. And you have to, because...
There we go. We've got a Polish guy who pretends to be Middle Eastern, who's the premier of a stolen place. Yes. And we all, and the masses accept it. This is how powerful they are. This is Jeremy Corbyn speaking. Let's have a listen.
During one extremely hostile meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party Committee, they confronted me and said, will you give a blanket undertaking that you, as party leader and potentially Prime Minister, will automatically support any military action Israel undertakes?
There you go. You heard it here first. This is the whole Barry Weiss thing. So you remember what I say, the cabal folks, they own all the media. Let's have a look at this one.
Just ran a big piece last night from my colleague Prem Tucker talking to insiders at CBS News who make the point that some of the stuff that Barry Weiss ran at the Free Press wouldn't even meet CBS editorial standards. They would get fired at CBS for running that stuff. CBS News just It's not perfect. I have many criticisms of CBS News, like you do of all mainstream media. But they just ran a very good investigation last week, Piers, about how Israel bombed the flotilla in Tunisia, even denying it was them. But they spoke to US intelligence and showed that actually Netanyahu signed off on a drone strike on the flotilla. Is that the kind of story that Barry Weiss would publish under her reign at CBS News? She is a self-described, Zionist fanatic, right? The idea that a quote-unquote neutral media organization is led by someone who has a long history of being a pro-Israel ideologue, who has a history of trying to censor Palestinian voices when she was at university, who just ran a piece saying the starvation in Gaza is fake. It's not true. Nobody's starving in Gaza.
There you go. I think you get the picture. This is why all the media sings on the same hymn sheet. Infiltrated at every single level, folks. Like I say, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Look away now. This is not gory. This has just been brought to attention that one of the people from October the 7th miraculously popped up on Bondi. I don't know if that's a verbatim link. I'm just saying that's what they're saying in alternative social media. And look away now. There's going to be blood in this photo, but there's no serious injury. It's this one. And it, having been under fire and having witnessed people get hit, or people, like literally the person stood next to me, get hit, I can tell you literally the last thing you're thinking is getting your phone out and taking selfies. Remember what I said, that the innocent community will buy into their own oppression. That's this chap.
Should change magazine and just shoot. Simple as that. 20 minutes was 4 policemen there. Nobody give fire back. Nothing.
He's saying all the policemen were there and none of them were firing back.
Like they are froze. Like for it looked like 20 minutes. Like, and they shoot. The guy change magazine. I look at him all the time. I was with 2 of my babies under me, and I look at that, and it's just rifle and a pistol, and just shoot. Like try to kill us, like this, like terrorism, like try to kill Jews. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are. Just you kill a Jew.
You see, this is what I was saying. We're all being played, folks. Everyone, this gentleman and his community is being played. It doesn't help. And it's very clever, isn't it? The way that the gameplay plays out, it's extremely clever. It gets people to buy into their own oppression and their own victimhood, rather than standing back and going, do you know what? This doesn't make sense, this narrative. It keeps happening. There's a load of discretions in it, such as like who let the border come down for 8 hours. It so totally doesn't make sense. It cannot be in our best interests. Let's start standing up on the side of truth, freedom and justice and the next generations, and stop going along with a media that we know locks you in your house for 2 years over a fictitious narrative. Not rocket science, this one, is it? So, and here, this is your true patriot Aussie. Here comes remember, infiltrated at all, media's infiltrated at all levels. Here comes your Zionist stooge. She's there to push the New World Order narrative. She has to scapegoat the poor Judaic community. And look what this woman tells her to do with it.
The horror of anti-Semitism has been unleashed in Australia, and it hasn't been properly dealt with by authorities. And this is where we are now.
You know, I don't want to blame anyone tonight other than the people that perpetrated this horror on our community. No one else is to blame. And I don't want to get into that tonight because we have a community that is in shock, that is grieving. You know, I'm in shock.
See, their interviewers trying to draw the narrative like that everyone's against us. And the woman's going, no, this is like an isolated incident and you're trying to score political points off it, aka gaslighting.
And
There we go. Folks, I'm going to go to locals in a minute just so we can have a good chat. And those of you that are like, Chris, we get this. What is the answer to it? I'm going to go over to my locals crew. There's the link there, folks. It's free to join my locals platform. But this video will be for my paying supporters, because if it wasn't for these guys and the people that support me in YouTube memberships and on Patreon, that I couldn't do what I do, folks. So it's only fair that you know, they get some specialist videos for them. So I'll be going over there in a bit, folks, and we'll just have a bit of a chat about, you know, how do we get past this. And there's a reason I do that, folks, is, you know, in life you have to give a bit. It's just how it is. If you care about yourself, the children, the future, me, if you want to share the love, locals is like £3 a month. People will pay like £6 now for a cup of coffee, and they'll do that twice a day. I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for like £100 a month like a lot of I just say £3 a month. And if you can't pay that, or if you don't want to, that's fine. You're probably like, Chris, I'm fine watching YouTube. Yeah, not a problem. But don't whinge at me, folks, because there's a reason as well. Is if you won't invest in yourself, you're not ready for the enlightenment journey. That's just how it works. Because remember what I said: leave the past behind, be grateful, take action. And that's what our locals community has done. So thank you, locals. There's the link there. Look, THRALL.locals.com. I also do videos for my YouTube members, private. All my life coaching videos are there for YouTube members. They're all in a private playlist. So if you want to get better at life, you want to understand the things that I talk about, you can become a YouTube member. So we'll go to locals in a minute. Can I just say, while I'm here, thanks to everybody that's chucked me a £5 for my upcoming Mount Everest summit to support struggling veterans and to use my platform to highlight the link between childhood trauma and adult PTSD, because we're losing a lot of our veteran brothers, for the most part, to suicide, folks, and someone's got to start talking about this. If you can spare a £5, there's a link in the comments below, and you can find out more information about this on GoFundMe or on my website. And one last thing while I'm there, we've got 2 places left on our Arctic Legends expedition coming up in March. If you want to come up to the Arctic with me and my team there of former Royal Marines Commandos, if you want to stay in this plush adventure centre, and then we're going to ski. Once we've trained you in skiing and survival, we're going to be skiing across this pristine Arctic tundra from cabin to cabin and staying by gas stove or whatever, gas stove, chucking logs on the fire, leaving our technology behind, or certainly not having internet connection. If you want to do that in the first week of March, the very last day of February it begins, send me a message, folks. Send me an email. Email's in my YouTube description or on my website. There we go. Right, the final bits. Where were we? People buying into their own depression. People gaslighting people. This is the good news. A bit of good news before we go to locals. Can you like and subscribe, friends, if you haven't already? The good news is everyday Israelis are fed up with this nonsense, or certainly a significant portion are. They're protesting in Tel Aviv for a 3rd straight week against Netanyahu. They are demanding an independent investigation into October the 7th. Let's have a look at this one. I don't know who they're comparing him to in that picture. It looks like Pablo Escobar. Or have I got something wrong? Oh yeah, it says, I have got my glasses on, folks. There you go, Bibi Escobar. Yeah, because Escobar sought political control, didn't he? And he absolutely was ruthless in his decimation of innocent people to further, you know, his power and his empire.
We are here tonight because of a government that is trying to silence us, because a government that is trying to run away from responsibility. And we are here with a public that is not intimidated, that returns week after week to say that we are fighting for our democracy.
There we go. All right, legends, let's get over to locals. Can you like and subscribe, friends? Remember, you don't have to agree with everything you've heard. You don't have to fully understand it. But if you don't listen to alternative voices, you're destined to stay in the matrix and forever live that life that you'll get to the end of it and you'll be on your deathbed and you'll go, do you know what? I thought I knew it all, didn't I? I thought, living out my ego, that I knew everything. And as a result, I never realised I was just literally one decision away from that beautiful thing called enlightenment. And it's worth it, friends, I tell you. Right, I'm going to go over to locals. Much love. Thanks for watching.
Morning, legends. I'm Chris THRALL. I'm a former Royal Marines commando. Upon leaving the forces, ended up chronically mentally unwell, self-medicating, undiagnosed trauma, and homeless on the streets of Hong Kong. It was the toughest battle I ever had to fight, but without the support of the medical community, without self-help groups, I learned the answers to rebuild my life and go on to complete a series of extreme charity challenges to send a vital message out there for other veterans who are struggling. I've run the length of the United Kingdom, run across the Sahara Desert, rode across the Atlantic Ocean. Now I'm taking on my biggest challenge yet, climbing Mount Everest. If you can support me, friends, and continue to shine a light for our struggling veterans and let them know that is life after PTSD, I'll put a link below. Can spare a fiver? That's absolutely fine. And let's give our veterans the respect that they deserve. Much love.